Kenya hii shida na aibu ya uhalifu na kutojali sheria.
We have to work hard so that we can justify the faith, the commitment, the sacrifice you have made to make us who we are.
I am really, Your Excellency, very impressed by the Kindiki style of management. Akiamua ni hapa, hata kama ikuta anapitia hapo.
Chair, but Sonu cannot be considered as part of two men. It's fatal.
A point of order, Chair. Chair, I'm granted. Yeah, I thank you. Chair, you've read the reasons as to why the team from the executive and the National Police have. And my concern is that the agenda appears to be very heavy. I'm just looking at time, Chair, and it is barely some 20 minutes to 2. We are meeting the CS in charge of internal security or interior. We're meeting the Inspector General on very weighty matters. And the CS Interior is a former Deputy Speaker of the Senate. Chair, are we satisfied that the amount of time we have between now and 2 or 2:30 when the House will be rising after our also needing to be, catered for in other ways, going to be adequate for the CS to deal with the matter? If not, Chair, I was going to seek your directions. Understand the CS has been meeting other committees of Parliament, which is right. I would be saying if the time available will not allow the team from the executive to adequately exhaust the matters we have before the nation today, we consider deferring this meeting to the earliest the schedule of the CS and the team can allow. Because otherwise, we would be appearing to be rushing matters which should be dealt with in better detail. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm also of the same opinion that this being the principal committee of Parliament that deals with security and also administration of this nation. Whereas I think the horse has bolted in this particular session, and we may have to go on as much as we can. But in the future, this committee, Waziri, will need a full day with you, because the matters that we raise with you will generally cover all what both Parliament and Senate will be talking about at one time or the other. So for that reason, I think we may go on as long as it takes so that the country is satisfied that the matters that have been raised are heavy issues that needs to be addressed. But I do agree with Honorable Kaluma. I think in future, I know once Parliament calls you, it is a duty, and the Constitution clearly says Parliament can summon anyone or any institution. But I think for this committee, we will really need quality time with you so that we get answers to as many issues as possible that are of concern to the people of Kenya. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, just a minute. Chair, I want to suggest I want to support Honorable Kaluma's view. The agenda is wide and weighty, issues that affect us nationally. The CS might be a CS, but he's also a human being. He's been tackling this from morning. So I think we are not going to get the due attention that the weighty matters need. So for me, despite the fact that we've started, I think if it's not against our standing orders, we could stand this down for another day when we are all ready and the CS team is also ready to tackle all these issues. The agenda is too wide and each item on the agenda is heavy.
Members, as much as I appreciate the concern, because it's true, the slated was around 11:30. I actually say it personally. I've been following from the first, second, or several meeting, but considering the urgency of the matter, kindly let's allow the CS. Maybe in an hour or so, we can able to evaluate how much we've already covered. Then we can able to guide and assess our situation from there. Kindly, please. So it's more time. I'm sure by now you'll have covered a few issues.
No, just a minute. Thank you, Chair. But I think because of the way.
But now wait, you know the rules of the meeting. Please, I've made a ruling. We'll let the CS continue.
But 1 hour from now is.
But I've made a ruling.
Yeah.
I've made a ruling.
3.
I've made a ruling. So when I CS continue, in an hour and a half time, we'll see how much we'll cover, and we can see what can wait. Maybe defer to another day.
Thank you, Chair. Chair.
Just one, Chair. Chair, I just want to check whether we have leave of the Speaker to continue beyond the required time and to absent ourselves from the Parliament at 2:30. If we have that, Chair, I would support the idea we continue.
Yeah, I've done that. I've already communicated. So continue, Bwana Waziri. We'll see in an hour and a half time, we can able to see how much of money to cover, probably what we will have not, and we can able to assess and make a decision from that end.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in August 2022, last year, the transitional government of Haiti made a request to the UN General Assembly for a multinational peace support operation to be deployed under the auspices of the United Nations to their country. This request, once it was made, was referred to the Security Council because the nature of the support, peace support operation that was being requested by Haiti is the type that require the authority and the legal backing of the United Nations Security Council. Subsequently, this matter arose again during the General Assembly annual meeting this year, and it is at that point that the Security Council met 2 weeks ago and deliberated on a resolution. And that resolution efficiently gave the legal backing under international law for a multinational peace support mission to Haiti. And that resolution requested Kenya to be the lead nation, but not the only nation to provide troops. In other words, the Haiti mission is an international peace support mission, a UN mission, but the Kenya has been given the leadership role in that mission. The legal basis for that deployment under our constitution is as follows. Article 240, paragraph 8A provides, of the Constitution of Kenya, provides that the National Security Council may, with the approval of Parliament, deploy national forces outside Kenya for regional or international peace support operations and for other support operations within the approval, or subject to the approval of Parliament. Our understanding, therefore, is that the request of the United Nations contained in the resolution of the Security Council for Kenya's participation in the Haiti multinational peace support mission that request as first, before it takes effect, to generate a decision of the National Security Council and a transmitter of that decision to the two houses of parliament, because the word parliament as used in Article 240 is different from other parts of the constitution where sometimes the word National Assembly is used. For example, when it comes to deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces to support internal security operations, the word used is National Assembly. But for this kind of Article 240 approval, the word used is Parliament. Our understanding, therefore, as government, is that before that request is acceded to, the National Security Council, which is chaired by the President, must meet, formalize the request, and transmit a request for approval to the National Assembly and Senate. Our understanding of the use of the word national forces under Article 240 includes the organs of national security that are recognized under Article 239 of the Constitution, namely the Kenya Defense Forces, the National Intelligence Service, and the National Police Service. Therefore, from where we sit, 99 of the United Nations Security Council provides the international legal backing for the deployment. However, our constitution demands the participation of the two houses of parliament and the National Security Council before the deployment is done. I have been asked, that is on number one. Number two, we've been asked to comment on the consultations held so far on the deployment. I would like to inform the committee as follows. That it is the intention of the government of Kenya to accede to that request by the United Nations Security Council to deploy or to take part in the multinational peace support operation. It is, in the view of government, a great honor for Kenya to be asked to take part, and not just to take part, but to take a leadership role in that peace support mission. I also want to say that at the moment, we have already dispatched an assessment team to Haiti, composing of representatives of the National Police Service. The Inspector General of Police is here, but also the Foreign Affairs Ministry and other stakeholders that are critical to give us an assessment before the necessary procedures are initiated as a basis of due diligence on the viability of this mission. Already our team has visited Haiti. It has come back. Number two, we are engaged with the diplomatic community through the United Nations, and another mission will be dispatched to the United Nations early next week, which will be led by the Minister for Foreign Affairs for purposes of just making sure that the legal and diplomatic arrangements are in place. I also want to inform the committee and the country that this being an international United Nations mission, this mission shall not cost the expenditure of any funds by the Kenyan government because it is a UN-funded mission. The other issue that I wanted to say is that the findings and recommendations that have come from the team that was dispatched to Haiti are reflecting the viability and the success of the mission. I also want to inform the committee, Honorable Chair, that the country, the diplomatic front has already made the commitment, and it is clear, even in those commitments, that the legal process that is required by the Constitution will have to precede active deployment. I'm saying so because His Excellency the President, when he was addressing on 21st September this year, when he was addressing the 78th session of the UN General Assembly, did commit Kenya's readiness and commitment to assume the lead role in this mission. But of course, the caveat is the fulfillment of the constitutional obligations and procedures. Therefore, at this point, Honorable Chair, it is important also to inform the country through the committee that Kenya had committed to deploy 1,000 officers out of an initial requirement of 2,500 officers. And the mandate of the mission is 1 year, upon which after that there could be an exit or whatever other arrangement, but it's strictly 1 year. The technical and operational issues are being addressed continuously, and there will be other pre-mission visits to Haiti, as I have said, by different players before our officers set foot there. In any case, as I have said, Chair, nothing in terms of deployment will happen until the legal requirements have been met. So Kenya is just taking the lead, but there are other troop contributing countries, and countries are already organizing themselves in terms of how many members or personnel they'll be sending. Finally, on that issue, Chair, this is not the first time that Kenya has participated in multinational peace support operations involving our national police. The international peace support missions, including United Nations-backed missions, normally are multidimensional. And in the last 30 years, it was discovered that beyond the use of the military for these missions, there was need for a police component. And therefore, I am happy to assure the country that we are not taking our officers to Haiti as guinea pigs, because our police officers have been engaged in the past very successfully in the United Nations Transitional Assistance Group to Namibia in 1989-1990, where our police officers were part of the international support system for the transition of Namibia from colonialism to independence, which was a bit difficult, the transition. Likewise, our police officers participated with distinction and great success in the UN Protection Force in the former Yugoslavia, when Yugoslavia disintegrated into Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Serbia and Montenegro in, again, 1990-91, after the, I think, 93, when the Baltic Wars erupted in that part of the world. Kenya again and our police officers participated. Number 3, Kenya police officers participated in the UN mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Kenya police officers participated also, Mr. Chairman, in the United Nations Transitional Administration in East Timor, which is quite far for those who are calculating the distance, and successfully so. Kenya also and our police officers were part of the United Nations.
A point of order, Chair. Chair, could the CS give us the years when Kenya did go to Bosnia and East Timor, just the way you also gave us Namibia and Yugoslavia? It's a good detail for us.
In terms of which particular one, Chair?
Bosnia and
Bosnia and Herzegovina was around 93, 94. You know, the Baltic was followed from 1992. 91 first Yugoslavia split into 4. And around 1992, there was a further split. I think the deployment was 1992, 1993. Namibia, 89, 90. The East Timor, I think 2000, 2001. And at the same time, Cambodia, 2001 or thereabout. Then Kenya has also participated in the UN police support group in Croatia in 1994, UN mission in Kosovo, 1995 to 1997, thereabout. Kenya also, and our police officers in particular, were part of the African Union mission in Darfur in 2002, 2003. Kenya is currently part of the United Nations Peace Support Operation deployment in South Sudan, the UNMISS. Kenya and our police officers have been part of AMISOM in Somalia, as well as MONUSCO in DRC. And so we can go on and on. Kenya has been at the forefront of supporting international peace operations, not in terms of military alone, but also our police components. I do remember, for example, the UN mission in Liberia. The UN mission in Liberia, I think even our current DIG for administration police was part of that mission under the umbrella of the UN. So my assurance, therefore, is that Kenya is known for participating very successfully in international peace missions. And that is why when these discussions were being held, our emphasis as a country were only two preconditions. One, that first, it must have legal backing under the United Nations Security Council so that we cushion our officers from any harm or of a legal nature. Number two, to make sure that our law is followed before the deployment is done. In terms of experience, capability, ability, I think I have already demonstrated we have had all those incidents, and being informed, Croatia was 98, East Timor 1992 to 2002, as I had said, Bosnia and Herzegovina 95, 96, Yugoslavia 92, 95, Cambodia 92, 93, Namibia 1989, 90, Kosovo from 1999 to 2008, and Sierra Leone 98 to 99, Sierra Leone again 2005 to 2019, I think 1999 to 2005. There were two missions. The third issue I've been asked to address, Chair, is the policy on deployment, transfer, and promotion of police officers serving in security operation areas. Article 245 of the Constitution provides that the Inspector General shall exercise independent command of the National Police Service, and that the Cabinet Secretary responsible for police services may lawfully give a direction to the Inspector General with respect to any matter on policy relating to the National Police Service, but no person may give a direction to the IG with regard to the following areas. One, investigation of any particular offense, enforcement of the law against any particular person, employment, assignment, promotion, suspension, or dismissal of any member of the NPS. And our interpretation of this position of Article 245 is that the Inspector General of Police exercises independent command of the service, but may receive directives from the Cabinet Secretary on policy matters. And just in a minute, I can explain our understanding based on the wording of Article 245 is that what the law insulates the National Police Service from is interference in terms of actual deployment, actual recruitment, actual promotion, actual transfer. And therefore, general policy statements, even on the same issues, are permissible in our interpretation, whereby policy statements that are not targeting a particular officer for transfer, promotion, recruitment at the policy level. And therefore, under Article 246, there are powers on recruitment of recruitment, promotion, transfer by the National Police Service Commission. And at the moment, issues to do with the promotions of officers up to inspectorate level have been delegated by the National Police Service Commission to be done by the Inspector General of Police. But for officers above, from superintendent and above, those promotions are our reading of both the Constitution and the National Police Service Act leads us to the interpretation that for officers from superintendent of police to senior assistant inspector general, because above that, the process of recruitment for IG and DIG is different. For those senior officers, therefore, other than the IG and the DIG, the commission does the promotion, but with the recommendations of the inspector general. And for the junior officers, it's the IG using delegated instruments, which are contained in the instrument of delegation by the Commission of 2015. Therefore, recruitment is a function of the Commission, but conducted by the Inspector General on delegated authority. That is the nutshell. The other issue I was asked to shed some light on is on the recent promotion of police officers. And I assume, Chair, this was in connection with the matter which was between the Inspector General and the Police Service Commission? Or am I reading the wrong?
No, yeah, but maybe before you go there,
Yeah.
Wanawaziri,
Yeah.
I mean, you can able to deployment transfer, promotion of police officers, specifically serving in security of. I want us to give a little bit more emphasis.
All right, so
Yeah.
not the general one. Now, number one, the policy which is in place at the moment is that officers serving in special security operations are rotated every year because of the special and unique nature of the the work they do. But I know there has been a delay, and I think I've explained to the committee before. The last 2 or so years, there was a delay because of the election period. But I think we have made arrangements to ensure that no officer who is serving in the operation areas serves more than a year. And we are in the process of making sure that that is implemented. I think that's all what I can say on that one. In terms of promotion, I think at the moment the promotion policy is, as I have read, between the Commission and the IG. There's a way in which officers are promoted. What I think we need to look at in terms of reforms and the ongoing work of the task force on reforms is to make sure that perhaps serving in hardship or security operation areas should be able to be weighted when it comes to promotion for the officer. And I think that is something that perhaps can be built into the ongoing work on reforms. But at the moment, I know there have been hue and cry about officers who have been stagnated on one grade for long, irrespective of where they have served. And that is something that we are working on to streamline through the reforms that the task force that has been constituted is winding up on. I've already looked at the interim report that was submitted to the president, and I think they have made a strong case so that officers serving in general duties, general policing duties, should serve not more than 3 years, but for those in difficult operational situations, they should be able to be rotated every year. It is also part of the proposed reforms, although the final report is not yet out, is going also to be a policy position once it's adopted that you cannot be promoted as an officer if you have only worked in one station. And therefore, the mix between working in different conditions, in different environments, security-wise, should be part of the score that should help you move to the next grade. But I do accept that there has been some challenges where we have had officers either staying in one station for too long or staying in a particular area, which could be even be, until they forget that there's another experience a police officer can have. And we are working to streamline that. And I'm sure the input of the Inspector General and the Police Service Commission has been well taken care of when they made their presentations before the task force. That is number 3. Number 4. Number 5.
Maybe before you go to the number 4, to the best of my understanding, the question number 3, simply put, brief on the recent promotion of police officers. Or what members wanted to get to know is probably, of course, it was a standoff, but we appreciate it was solved. The number promoted, the exact number, we need even maybe a written response on that. The number promoted, maybe the distribution in terms of regions, gender, such, so that at least people, Kenyan can be able to be convinced of the fairness.
Chair, with your permission, can I allow the IG to answer that?
Thank you, sir. The chair, honorable members, regarding maybe the promotions, I wish to start this way. You started this honorable committee started by recruiting the Inspector General. and that's why I got into the office. Then thereafter, the National Police Service Commission, as stipulated in the law, recruited the two the DIGs in the DCI. Thereafter, we went to the third level, filling the ranks of superintendent to senior assistant inspector general. And the arrangement, the policy in the National Police Service, we have what we call promotion boards. We have board 1, that is for the rank of Inspector of Police to Senior Assistant Inspector General. We have board 2, that is interviewing a panel for the rank from, a chief inspector to assistant superintendent of police. Then we have board 3, from the rank of a corporal all the way to an inspector of police. And our interviews are such that they start right from the police station. So interviews, we start with them at that level, sub-county level, county level, all the way up to the National Police Service level, that is done by the National Police Service Board, which I chair. Then thereafter, for the rank from superintendent to senior AIG, we forward our recommendations to the National Police Service Commission for determination. Therefore, after recruitment of the DIGs, we filled those other positions. It is true, we read quite a lot in the media, but you may not have heard the chairman of the commission at all stating out there's an issue with the IG or even the Inspector General. You did not hear the IG at all out there saying there are issues, he has issues, the National Police Service Service Board has issues with the commission. Therefore, that was amicable decision by the commission and the service board, and those positions were filled. Then thereafter, we went to filling the position of the station commanders, chief inspectors. And again, interviews were carried out. About 1,060, right? I think 65 chief inspectors were promoted. But we made a deliberate decision as a service board to take them back to the college, our 3 national police colleges, for refresher programs. Some have completed the refresher program, and that is still ongoing. Therefore, Honorable Chair, honorable members, no issues at all. We are carrying on well between the service board and the commission. I hope I've clarified. Thank you, Chair.
Point of order. IG, you are very clear in what you are telling us, but we would really like the breakdown of the recent promotions. I think the question is very clear. The recent promotions, in terms of who are these individuals, what rank are you promoting them to, what is the gender, what is the regional balance? That is really what the committee is asking you to do. Thank you, Chair.
So on that one, I would like when says we want a list indicating all the numbers from different ranks and region and gender. So that one we can have it written down. It make it easier and completely respond the question.
Very well,
Address the
Chair,
question.
because this letter
comment, so we didn't expect those details, but we are well guided, Chair. If I may proceed with the next issue,
Proceed to the next one.
which is on
A small intervention, Chair. Chair, the document we need is the document, the names, the rank, and the positions of promotion, not the numbers and regions. We want the details of the people promoted.
Yeah, I think that's what I did say.
Thank you.
And it's agreeable. Yeah.
if I may ask for
that the kind of information required is the information that helps the committee look at compliance with national values and in the constitution. Okay, understood. Chair, on the issue of the proposed amendments on the National Government Coordination Act of 2012, which now I think there's an amendment by the Honorable Malulu Injendi to basically recognize village elders, to create village councils and village units. We've been asked to comment, and first and foremost, the legislative authority of the country is vested in Parliament. Therefore, from a starting point, any member of Parliament is free to introduce legislation and push it through Parliament. And that is our view. But having said that, we also note that the bill is specifically looking at the creation of village elders and how they'll be compensated. For us in the ministry, we are looking at reforms around that space to be a little more broader than just a question of amending one or two sections. I've seen in this proposal is section 15 and 17. And I am happy to report to the committee that we already have a draft National Government Coordination Amendment Bill, but it elapsed. It is a proposed legislation of 2021, but because of parliamentary procedures, it elapsed under the previous parliament, the 12th parliament. We have taken the policy position to refurbish, improve on this bill and resubmit it as the executive. And the issues that the member, the Honorable Malulu Injendi, seeks to introduce are covered in our proposed legislation, which we intend to take through cabinet for introduction into parliament. And therefore, without giving a lot of details, because we have not provided a copy of that proposed legislation, our view is that the broader amendments to the Act to improve on national government, the coordination of the functions of national government in the grassroots would be the proper place to place the proposed amendment by the Honorable Malulu Injendi, which in principle, this administration is not opposed to. This administration is not opposed to the formal recognition of village elders in the structure of national government administration. Number two, in any case, Chair, these village elders exist. The only problem is that they have not been recognized in law, and they do play a fundamental function in the governance of our country. Number two, the government is not opposed to the compensation, in principle, to the compensation of village elders. And already as a ministry, there is a working party within the ministry in the State Department of Internal Security, which is working on the financial implications so that by the time the legislation is brought, we have discussed with Treasury, we have discussed with other stakeholders, including SRC and everybody else, to make sure that the proposals that we bring are viable. But in principle, we believe village elders need to be compensated, and there is work in progress that is already underway. Therefore, our request, without prejudice to what I said at the beginning, which is that the legislative authority of the country, of the state, lies with Parliament, we would have recommended that the honorable member could consider standing down the very specific amendments that they seek to introduce and find a way of those amendments being incorporated into the broader amendment bill that the executive will be introducing to Parliament as soon as the Cabinet gives the approval. Thank you. Then lastly, I think there was the item of Sondu.
You can address the issue of Garzen.
Yes, for the two issues around the missing persons, I think it's whereabouts of Mr. Isaac Robles Amani. The ID number has been given there, and Mr. Nur Mohammed Okomo, the ID number has been provided. At the moment, no report has been made at any police station in Kenya on this particular incident. The same applies with regard to the second issue, which is what measures has the government taken to ensure that the said persons are located and reunited with their families. Again, no report has been made. And if a report has already been made, we would be happy if we could be provided with the OB number that will help us track the investigations and the status of the whereabouts of the said missing persons. Chair, the last but not least is the matter of Sondu. Very briefly, I would like to say to state as follows. There has been a dispute between Kisumu County and Kericho County on the actual coordinates of the boundary. This dispute is not unique to Kisumu and Kericho. Over 30 counties in Kenya have similar inter-county disputes with regard to the actual coordinates of the boundary between one county and another. So it should be clear that this is not unique to Kisumu and Kericho. And the dispute has been there for a while. What is unique about this particular matter, among others, because as I've said, more than 30 counties are in the same state, in every region of our country. If it is Garissa, Isiolo, Meru, Taita Taveta, Kajiado, Makueni, Taita Taveta, name it, Turkana, West Pokot, very common. But what is a bit unique is the sporadic violent criminal acts, murders, and destruction of property that has occasionally been witnessed in this area of Sondu by criminals purporting to be pursuing a boundary dispute. It is our considered view that resolution of disputes of whatever nature, political, boundary, social, must be done peacefully. And therefore, with the incidents that we have seen in the last few months, because I remember, I think around July, there was loss of life again in the same town by criminals who are using that boundary issue. And then, of course, last week, we lost up to 7 people in senseless killing by criminals. Therefore, resolution of disputes must be peaceful. And the fact that the two counties have different opinions on where the border coordinates lie is not excuse for murder, arson, and other crimes that have been committed in that area. Unfortunately, it also became clear that some of our law enforcement officers should have acted differently to avert the loss of lives that we have witnessed, especially the last 2 incidents. As a result, therefore, it has been decided that first we must firmly enforce the law, isolate criminals, whether they are from Kericho County or Kisumu County, and deal with them firmly and without mercy. We have deployed anti-riot specialized forces and officers and personnel in that area. And as I said a few days ago, if we need more, we will deploy. If that problem is not contained by the current deployment, we will increase the numbers and the type of officers that we send there. And right now, the GSU is already stationed there. And because there were issues of livestock theft, and one wonders what is the connection between the boundary and somebody's cow, we have also on standby in that 2 detachments of the anti-stock theft unit. And their instructions are to be impartial, apolitical, neutral, and ruthlessly isolate, track, arrest, and punish criminals, whether they are from this county or the other county. However, it is true, just like in other counties, the counties have different opinions on where the beacons are. The mandate for doing that lies with the Department of Survey, and we as security agents and the security infrastructure of the country are engaging with the Department of Survey in the Ministry of Lands and other responsible agencies to make sure that the matter between Kericho and Kisumu counties in Sondu is resolved, but peacefully. We insist it must be resolved peacefully. So it's unfortunate that we have had senseless loss of life. The officers who have been deployed there have been instructed to make sure that there is no recurrence of violence whatsoever again in that area. Even as we pursue peace building, which also falls within our mandate as the Ministry of Interior, and among the officers I have here is the Secretary for Peace Building, Conflict Management, and Disaster Response, Mr. Narengo. So we have said once there is law and order and criminals are not rampaging and killing people and torching houses, let the peace building processes start operating. And also we believe there is some logic in involving the elected leaders from both counties to help us galvanize sustainable, durable peace among the two neighboring communities. But we have not reached the point of engaging political leaders. We will do so once we confirm that that violence is not recurring, because at the time when that orgy of violence was happening, we were suspecting that perhaps some of the local leaders could have been participating in inciting the public. The investigations are still ongoing, and as soon as we are sure that we know who the suspects are, then we can be able to know who to invite, even from the political leaders, to assist us in building sustainable peace. I submit.
Maybe we can start by giving MP for Buru.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the chance given and the response from the CS. But I wish to differ with the response in the following manner. One is that the matter was reported in 2 different police stations. I have the OB number with me. I was going through my phone to exactly get the OB numbers. It was reported at Hola police station by the relatives to the person who was kidnapped. As their representative, I personally took the initiative to report at Parliament police station, and I have the OB number with me. So we have reported in 2 different police stations. So I want to distance, that is how I want to differ with the response in the first time. Secondly, I want to inform the committee and the CS that after 5 days of being detained, the 2 persons have been reunited with their families. Because Parliament is a house of record, and it is within, it's ethical for me as the representative of the people of Bura to also inform of the unfolding and the developments after I have asked for the question. But I want to confirm that the 2 have been reunited with their families after 5 days of detainment and torture. Chairman, the guy by the name Isaac Roble had 2 other family members who were detained, who were kidnapped in similar circumstance in 2018. The 2 have not been found till today. But as for the subject matter, the question that I asked, I'm happy to report that the 2 have been reunited with their families. Finally, Chair, because of the importance of the response given by the CS on the inter-county issue or boundary, I wish to contribute as follows. I come from Tana River. I represent Bura constituency, which borders Kithure County. I appreciate the efforts done by the CS and the ministry and in general in undertaking and ensuring that there is peace and stability within our republic. I wish to inform him that he was in Tana River 2 weeks ago, and we appreciate his visit and we welcome him again and again and again. But there is a menace in between Tana River and Kithure. There's a saying that says that the absence of war doesn't mean there is peace. Between Kithure and Tana River, Kithure County government has gone ahead in constructing police stations in areas where there are disputes, in areas where, as Tana River County leaders, we believe it is in Tana River County. We are peace-loving people. My women rep there has taken the matter to court, and we are together pursuing this matter in a very peaceful manner. I wanted to bring to the attention of the committee and to the attention of the CS that we are kindly requesting for your intervention and your immediate response on the same issue before it escalates to a different thing altogether. Thank you. I submit.
So we are happy for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, you say they have reconnected with their families. Yeah, that is a joy and happiness as well. So when I see us, so that we can able to see whether we can take shortest time possible, we are going to let members take it to plenary, and we'll ask every member at least 1 minute. We and the speaker has given us up to 3:30, so that is less than an hour. And I will start by just about 3 or so, because I think you clearly stated the issue of the procedure normally under the provision of is it 40 what? Article 40 248 81, yeah, which is talked about give the National Security Council the mandate to deploy the security forces. Maybe you should been a little bit give a procedure. What start first? Is it a request from the Haiti, then National Security Council, Parliament, in that order, for the purpose Kenyans want to know. Secondly, you talked about currently we have our officers in Southern Sudan. Maybe you could have given the number. How many are they? And when were they deployed? Thirdly, we're sending 1,000 plus for a period of 1 year, probably even with a renewal. And we are aware that for the last 1 year, we have not recruited any officers. And of course, the IG knows this. With the normal natural attrition, of course, we already have a big shortage. Then we are sending the officers again. We have also to be alive with the current insecurity situation in the country. The CS should be able to tell us, this committee and the country, what should be the plans of replacing the officers to take up the duties of the officers that could be going to Haiti. I think maybe the three, and I give the vice in this order 1 minute each, and you can just list them down. You're going to take a round of one.
Should I list all of them or three like that? Then we.
You are strong,
faster that way.
You can, or we
Because
because
I
of
can
time.
answer in 2 minutes all the questions that have been raised. Tana River and yours, and then the next like that.
Or we do 4.
We could do all, Chair.
Let's do all. I know you. I know your capacity.
Yes, is strong.
Yeah. And he was our colleague, and we know his stamina. And by the way, you should appreciate why we learn majority of all this, because we appreciate how busy you are, that the country needs you any other given time. So we thought we better lump instead of calling you this day, another day, another day. So it is in consideration of that we put all this in 1 day. So let's just have all of them, then you try to respond to all of them. But members, be brief.
Thank you very much, Chair. CS, thank you for those responses. First of all, on this thing of Haiti, from my background, I may be seeing it different from my colleagues, that I will allow deployment of our troops to Haiti because of experience, because of the nature of the international system, that our people also must be engaged with hard times around the world. So for that reason, maybe I'll think differently from even any other second person. But my questions are this. First of all, I see the potential of our troops deploying under Article 6, not really Article 7. Not peacekeeping, but peace enforcement. The question I have for you is that you sent an assessment team. What is their finding? What level of equipping do we require? So that as our troops engage in that mission, then we are not, the next report is that Kenyan casualties are being removed from the street of Haiti. What is it that we have been able to do to give Kenyans that reassurance which you attempted to do? The second question is on this issue of borders. I think the major problem of this country, one government to another, one generation to the other, it is the inability to solve the current problem. That problems are moved to the next generation or to the next government. The question, Waziri, I really want to put to you, why is it so hard that it is difficult to fix the problem of Isiolo and Garissa, or Tana River and Kitui, or even Kisumu and Kericho? Yet we have the maps, we have the survey. If maybe anyone thought that the survey of Kenya is biased, why don't you use the Kenya Defense Forces military survey that also is adequately equipped to give us precise situation to resolve these issues? Thirdly, the issue of promotion of the national police. I really also want to think differently from any other person. We want yourself and the IG to appear before us at a later date to actually walk us through how an individual is promoted from a constable to a corporal to a sergeant, all the way to SAIG, so that we can tell Kenyans that if a promotion load happens, then we can say, yes, there's fairness and the good procedure has been followed. Finally, our main question, or the bane of that question, is troops who are in hardship areas or in operational areas, where these askaris stay for 3 years, 4 years, some up to even 6, 7 years. How do we bring a stop to that? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, and I will ask members if there is a question which has been asked by another colleague. Let's not go there. But as I give to Fatuma, Waziri, just list also down. You need to tell us probably maybe the retraining being considered to our police officers, of course, to the issue of language and whether the issue of terrain and all that. So, Fatuma.
Thank you, Chair. I have my 3 questions, and I have 3 from Carol, but I promise to take 1.5 minutes in all. I hope that is okay. Thank you, Chair. Okay, I promise not to repeat. Waziri, thank you so much for shedding light on this issue. This issue, Bwana Waziri, is an issue that is disturbing Kenyans for the past few weeks or months. Bwana Waziri, you mentioned a lot of countries that we have gone for international peace mission. But this is a different peace mission altogether from how I see. This is a country that has assassinated 4 sitting presidents. This is a country that is led by gangs. This is a country that has not done elections from the year 2019 to date, postponing from one year to another. This is a country Today, if you Google whether you can travel, you'll be told no, a big no. And we are taking our police officers to that country. Are we prepared as a country? What can we tell Kenyans, because they are extremely curious on this issue? They are wondering whether their loved ones will come back safe if they were to go. Waziri, my other question was on the fact finding. It has been asked. We would like to get a report on what it says. The other issue is on the issue of disappearance of the people, Kenyans. It's good that we have had Mheshimiwa from Burra, that his people were brought back. But there is a recent one in Ijara that 2 people disappeared, and up to today they have not been found. Waziri, we would like you to broaden beyond that and see whether those people can be found. Our people are not safe anymore. I remember in 2014, a relative of mine was disappeared, and up to date, he has not been found. And you can imagine when you have left kids and you have gone to work and you have not come back. And he left about 4 kids, and all those kids are grown up. When I hear disappearance, it really bothers me a lot. Those kids up to today are under the care of us, and you cannot imagine when I see those kids what I feel. So it's every right for kids to have their parents growing up. That is mine. For Ngelechei, she had asked about the ratio of police to the citizens. What is the required ratio? She also asked how do they have enough police to deploy to Haiti? Thank you, Chair.
Very good. Quickly, 1 minute each. Let's not
Chair.
repeat any question that has been
Chair,
already
I'm
asked.
not repeating, but my honorable member, as the Black Beauty, has requested that he ask instead of me because he has an issue in Parliament.
The request is that he asks before you go back to them. He has a question on the floor. He wants to leave. Yeah.
Yes, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank my colleagues because we share and many times.
Chair, kindly let us know who the Black Beauty is, because when we were introducing ourselves, there was nobody introduced as Black Beauty.
There's no doubt about that. Let's, Chair, you don't have to answer to that. Chair, I want to thank my colleagues who have given me time to speak for myself and on their behalf. And Chair, I want to say that sometimes it is good to disappear and to reappear, because sometimes disappearing is better than dying. Chair, my issue as the member for Nyakach, which has been greatly affected, I want to thank the CS for what he has done, because I know he has made some effort to rest the situation, which was indeed getting out of hand. But I want to say that much still needs to be done, because I have a long list which, when convenient, I'll want to share with the CS about what has been happening in Nyakach. I have a long list because I've been keeping data of each and every event from 2013, and the list is very long, of the victims, what has happened since 2013. Chair, you know, in 2013, I've also got another list of, to date, if I include the people who died in the last 2 weeks, I have a list of 28 people who have lost their lives. And all these people who have lost their lives are just from one community, which means that it is not a conflict, but it is an attack by one community against the other. You realize all the people who have lost their deaths, Chair, among the 28 included both my parents. So apart from the loss of lives, like in my situation, we also lost a lot of property, which had been saved over the year because we lost the house and all the property. So I would want to say that this is not a conflict. It is an attack by one community. And I want to thank the CS because in the last incident, he acted very fast to rest the situation. But even as late as on 4th, when we had the last attack, I realized that several people and all those houses were touched after the security apparatus had been brought to the ground. And the Chair, what was most painful about it is that since I became the MP in 2013, we have the anti-stock theft unit at Kapsorok, where I had personally been paying from my pocket for their upkeep for the last 10 years, until when I got support from the ministry last year to put a place for them, houses for them, at a cost of around 15 million, which included contribution from the CDF committee. Chair, on the last attack where people were being killed, that was on 4th. Chair, there's a police station which I've put there using CDF funds, and policemen have been deployed, and these houses were being burnt barely 50 or 100 meters from the police station where police have been posted. So I trust that will bring it to an end, but there's a lot of fear because schools were affected. 7 schools which were closed were on one side of the border, which is on Nyakach. So it's not a conflict. There's no house which has been burnt on that other side. Chair, I also want to report to the CS that when we had the last incident, I was constrained with my counterpart, the honorable member for Sigowet. So in Sigowet, Justice Kimei, to traverse the area, we took risk, Chair, because we went to both sides of the border at night. And while we were on one side, I was told some students had been locked up in one of the schools. Chair, we had to go to that school to ensure that those students were safe, because those were just innocent pupils. So I believe this can be rested if we take a more proactive approach on the situation in Sondu, Chair, because schools have been affected, and even if we purport that they've been reopened, there's a lot of fear, given that some of these victims were innocent teachers. So you could imagine how the school fraternity are feeling about it. I've got a long list of all these incidents, people who have died, because I keep data when I was here, which data occasionally you might not get from the security apparatus, because they might not want to give you the actual information that there's problem on the ground. The people in Kisumu and Kericho border in the region which is affected have lived in peace for a very long time. During the last attacks, I indeed got information that that youths were being ferried from a place called Sosiot, which is a far distance. The people who live locally around know each other, and sometimes they don't attack. So let us identify these gangs who sometimes invoke situations and harvest out of the chaos. And they are known, the businessmen are known. We know some of the leaders, like there's an excellency around there, somebody who calls himself an excellency, who has been voted, and we know the remarks, and I know has been put on the radar. So let us be seen to be acting and go against every individual who was incited. We have a lot of people who have lost their lives, Chair. I had to travel to Nairobi simply because of this meeting, because I've been in the village. I've not attended Parliament this week because I'm addressing those situations. Chair, I was not born to be poor, but I'm being forced to be poor because some people are sleeping on the duty, just like you have been paying for what the government is supposed to be paid for 10 years for 80 police officers for where they've been staying. Chair, last week I was in Nyabondo. Apart from the dead, there are victims who are languishing in hospital, and some of them are people of old age. So there are people who are languishing. I had to pay hospital bills in Nyabondo, getting my friends to pay those bills. I have to look for money to go and help these people bury their dead. People who are earning a living, some who are teachers. So I think we must look at it and address it firmly. Otherwise, it will go out of hand. And Chair, my concern about taking even our soldiers to Haiti was why take them when we have problems here, which you've not addressed. I would really be grateful to have even the IG visit to that area because I've not had the IG make comment on that. I know Waziri has made efforts because police have a chain of command. If you have those who cannot act, then let us deal with them. Let us remove them from the area. Thank you, Chair. I want to rest it at that.
Of course, it's the first time I've ever had Mheshimiwa Duma talking for that long. Been a member of this committee for quite some time, so it's something very emotive. So I don't know. Suppose you respond the 4 or the 5 first. Yes.
Okay, Chair, I'll try and summarize, and maybe IG can add whatever gaps I may feel, I may leave. One, what is the procedure?
You know, there is the international request and the local request. Under international law, a request can come directly from the requesting country to another friendly country for assistance of a military or peace enforcement or peace support nature. Alternatively, under international law, a request can come through the United Nations Security Council or through the regional arrangements which are in place in different regions of the world. For example, in this part of the world, the African Union or the regional economic communities, EAC is not very active. Increasingly now we have a East African standby force, but I think West Africa has been very vibrant in terms of regional arrangements. So when the request comes from either the United Nations or the regional arrangements, United Nations under Chapter 7 of the Charter or Chapter 6, regional arrangements under Chapter 8 of the Charter. Then the law of the receiving country, the country which has been requested, starts operating. And that's why we are saying for us, because the request has already been done and the legal backing internationally provided, what remains now is the backing of the local law. The starting point is the first item is the National Security Council meeting to consider the request. And what the steps we have taken therefore was first to send an assessment mission to travel to Haiti. And from our side, DIG Gabo was in that delegation and many other officers. And that report, which has been submitted, is part of the support documents that will be provided to the Security Council so that the National Security Council makes a decision that is informed not only by the request, but also the fact-finding mission. So, Chair, it is a bit premature for now to generally discuss that report of the fact-finding mission, but I want to assure the committee that when the Security Council meets, and it should be very soon in the next few days, once it is convened by the chairperson, the transmittal letter to Parliament will include also as support material the report of the fact-finding mission. And from where we sit, government will not go ahead with the request if the assessment report is negative. It will be irresponsible, it will be unlawful, and therefore the assessment report generally has come in. It has said what we must do, but the viability of the mission has been affirmed. On the issue of and that includes the terrain issues, the gang issues that have been raised, etc., etc. Not the entire country is under gun control, and there are ways where that can be mitigated. The other point that may help the committee in its determination of the matters before it is that it is not a Kenyan mission only. So there are many contributing countries, some of them from the Caribbean side, which is nearer Haiti, others from the African side, and other parts of the world. And each country is will be handling unique capabilities. And therefore, the issue of terrain, language, etc. It's a multinational force. So we have some of the countries, for example, that have already pledged, include Burundi, which is a French-speaking country, and also a country that speaks French and also understands Swahili, which some of in fact, all our officers understand. So there is a lot of dynamics around to make sure that the force has all the requirements before deployment. In terms of training, of course, there will be pre-deployment training, which should take care of basic language, basic cultural issues, and the issues of terrain which have been asked. Then the question of this Haiti, Haiti is basically a nation of African descent people. In fact, all of them look like many of us in this room. They look like the member for Nyakach, many of them. and Chair, with a lot of respect, they look like us. They look like us. They originated from this continent. And so that difference, which could be in distance, may not be there in terms of our shared heritage. In any case, this is a UN mission, and we are all part of the human family and our shared humanity. The other one is on promotions. The boundaries issue, which was raised by the Honorable Dido Raso, Vice Chair, on boundaries. Boundaries are very emotive matters, and both international and even subnational boundaries all over the world, not just in Kenya. So some of these issues have to be resolved in a manner that we carry along communities, because it's one thing to say the boundary is here, but it's another to be able to carry a sustainable coexistence among communities. And that's why we are very careful to say that these discussions can go on so long as there is no an order. The problem comes when people want to use violence to process the dispute. And therefore, this is work in progress, and I would invite the committee to apply its mind on Article 188 of the Constitution on this issue of boundaries of one county and another. That provision, led carefully, requires the country to set up a unique institution on inter-county boundaries. And therefore, it is beyond the Survey Department and the Minister of Interior to determine boundaries between counties after the 2010 Constitution. The Boundaries Commission, which is envisaged under Article 188, is not the IEBC. And courts have already made determinations to that effect. The IEBC deals with electoral boundaries, wards, and constituencies. Boundary disputes must be canvassed before a different commission on boundaries, and we've never set up that commission to start with. And in any case, when that commission makes a decision which has implications on a boundary between one county and another, the matter goes to both houses of parliament, which must adopt with 2/3 majority. So it's not a very easy thing. The other issue which has been asked is whether we have enough police officers, and the answer is yes. The IG will add to that. But the other day he was giving us figures, and he's saying Tanzania, for example, if you look at our neighbor Tanzania, the number of officers they have versus the population, Kenya is doing, almost double. We have enough officers, and from this space, what really matters is not even the numbers, it is the capabilities. And that's why increasingly from 2014, Kenya has invested heavily in special training for special units to deal with complicated crimes like terror and banditry. And therefore, it's not just about the numbers. It's not how many police officers you have. It is what capabilities they have. So we have enough officers. We have enough capabilities. I don't believe we will fail in Haiti. We have enough capabilities. The other thing, very rapidly, is on the issue of Sondu. I have listened to the Honorable Aduma with a lot of support for the sentiments, because what that region has gone through, that Sondu area, it should not happen. And I want to give my commitment and the commitment for all of us that we will make sure that we bring that to an end completely. Let me allow IG maybe to say one or two things, then we move to the next set of questions.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Chair, honorable members, once thank you most sincerely for inviting us to explain many of the issues regarding Haiti, because there has been a huge discussion about this deployment. Chair, I wanted to know how many police officers we have in Southern Sudan. They are 18. Much smaller number than what you are talking about here. 18 and discharging their mandate very well. 18. In Somali, we have 39. As we are seated here, they're in Somali, working very well. DRC, we have 9, serving very well. Therefore,
Chair, may we know what that number of officers are doing in terms of specific mandate in the countries? Because it will enable us decide whether we can send 1,000 to Haiti and for what.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, honorable members, I would like to assure this committee and our people that we have a professional police service, officers who have capacity. Let's not doubt the capacity of your police officers. As stated by the CS, they have been out there in the world and they have done this country proud. Therefore, on behalf of the National Police Service, the message is, once we get to Haiti, we are going to do this country proud. Honorable Chair.
Chair, point of order. We'd like the IG to kindly ask the question specifically put to him by Honorable. Oh, answer, sorry. Specifically put to him by Honorable Kaluma, as opposed to praising the professionalism of the police.
We let him finish. Probably he was ending there.
Chair, it's like you're reading my mind. I was adding there. Chair, I'll get to some stage, get to respond to my good friend, Honorable Karuma. However, Honorable Chair, before we make a decision to deploy, there is a lot of planning. And that's why we said send very senior officers to Haiti to assess the situation there. There is an existing police force in Haiti, and we are going to work closer with them. Also build their capacity. A lot of training issue came up. What we are doing at the moment is identifying the officers who will go to serve in this mission. And it's very competitive. Officers and the NPS are very eager to go for this mission. It's competitive. Then, of course, they'll have to go through medical examination. Then thereafter, a training. Of course, that includes even the language, because the language spoken there is French. Therefore, they'll have to undergo some sessions on French language. Yes, also, as mentioned by the CS, we shall have other countries contributing troops. And I can imagine among the countries we're identifying to join us are those who can either speak French, some Swahili, French, and English. Therefore, in terms of communication, we don't anticipate any challenge. Very fast on regarding Honorable Fatuma's question. Any report made to us regarding any missing person is taken very seriously. And we get our best investigators to handle such a matter. Therefore, Mheshimiwa, I assure you, we're equal to the task. A promotion policy, yes, the policy is there, Vice Chair, and we shall present that to you. Otherwise, I think that is all. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Just on the ratio of the police chair, the ratio of the police population, the recommendation is 1 to 450. Right now we are at almost 1 to 500. We have 106,000 police officers on a population of slightly over 50 million. I gave that example of our neighboring friendly country, Tanzania, with 65 million people, and they have 46,000 police officers. And going forward, because you talked about replacements and the fact that there was no recruitment, it is not the numbers that guarantee our national security, it's the capabilities. There's formed units that are helping us big time in the countering the threat of terror, are not those huge numbers that you may think about, but the work they're doing is incredible. They are doing incredible works, more formations, but highly trained, very expensive training that meets global standards. So it's very costly to train them. So even as a country, as a policy going forward, it's not just adding numbers. It should be the capabilities, the skills, the training, and the ability to deliver national security.
Just quickly, before maybe, I think Kaluma was very specific, the 9 or the 10 or 18 officers in our neighboring countries, well, I'm sure they're not doing operation, maybe they're doing capacity building. You can just, in 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, we have trainers, we have advisors, police advisors, we have police mentors, and then also in some of the missions, we have formed up units. That is the regiment. Thank you, Chair.
So, members, I'm going to give Kaluma.
Chair, did I understand the IG to be saying?
Okay, when you get your chance,
okay,
you can maybe paraphrase again if you need more clarification. We have got less than 15 minutes.
No,
I think you had. So, Kaluma, then.
Chair, I thank you. Chair,
the last shot said, so 1 minute each. Kaluma, 2, 1, 1, all of you.
Chair, I'll take 3 minutes.
Of course, I know your issue of.
Yes, Chair. Sorry. Chair, the relationship between the United States and Haiti is hostile because of their history. The history of slavery, the history of occupation, and the history of what is common knowledge that the US has been imposing governments on those people. I want therefore to ask, number one, why, I'm not discussing US.
Yeah.
This is
And
common.
you know the procedures,
No,
your high-ranking member?
No, this is common information.
Okay, just to
These are slaves from West Africa. Yeah. And the last state to occupy them
by the
was
standing
US.
orders, yeah.
Yes. So that makes me ask CS why we had to allow the United States to be the nation to draw the request for resolution for Kenya to go there. Because the consequence of it is that our involvement is already being received by any reasonable person in Haiti with hostility. Number two, I wanted to have more details in terms of the other states joining us in this mission. Because the resolutions are specific to nations, and the one I saw merely on the media indicates that Kenya is going there, but it is a multinational. Which other states have confirmed involvement according to the records you have? And more particularly, within the Caribbean circuit, I would be very keen to know that. On that, number three, Chair, this resolution by the United Nations Security Council, now that you're already acting on it, you must be having a copy. And I think it could be confidential to some people, but not to this committee. I request, Chair, that this be placed before us so that it is clear to us the nature of the mandate we are going to engage in. But the last issue on Haiti, Chair, is that a reading of Article 240, sub-Article 8A of the Constitution speaks to forces. And forces among the security organs do not include the National Police Service. The forces are the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, and the KDF. So I wonder whether and how, the National Police Service becomes a force for purposes of deployment. But to conclude that, Honorable Chair, by indicating that in all these countries, our police have been involved. They were under the old constitution when our police was a force. Yes. All this you could deploy police then. The ones relating to South Sudan, Somalia, and DRC, as the IG and yourself now confirm, are about technical support to a reciprocating state to help them properly establish their own police units, not to fight gangs as I saw in the resolution. And I think that distinction, Chair, should be clear. And I wanted to ask the CS to confirm, because 2-3 days ago, I saw a report like there is a court order or a court stay. Could you be aware of that court matter, if it exists, and what it is about? Chair, 30 seconds only. On Sondu, just a statement. CS have participated in burying a number of people killed at Sondu. During, you remember the infamous demonstrations, and even the ones who were killed on 4th. The interesting aspect is that the ones on 4th were being killed even when we were seated in Parliament, in broad daylight. They're being killed. And so I agree with you when you say these are criminals, these are gangs. I get concerned when you again draw inter-community conflict. The question I wanted to ask, this thing is happening in broad daylight. Do you have information on a single person among the attackers who has been arrested? And if so, what are they and what is being done? Chair, in terms of promotion and promotion transfers, Chair, after we invited the CS and the team here, you remember I asked a specific question on this matter in the House, and it was directed to the National Police Service Commission, because I'm one person who holds the view as the CS that if the IG is exercising any mandate to promote or transfer, it is on a delegation. from the commission. Otherwise, it is a mandate of the commission, not the mandate of the IG. But Chair, would I request that that particular issue be dealt with in better detail when the question will be treated by the commission, if we can have the IG and even the team again, so that we resolve it at once. The reason as to why I was bringing it, Chair, and Honorable Kaunya is not going to ask questions. CS, we interact with the police, and particularly in the last parliament, we did engage with the police a lot. We engaged a lot. I will not go to personal issues on this, but Chair, when we were at Ijara, we found young men who had been at that station for over 17 years from the time of recruitment. When we were in Mandera, and Honorable Kaunya would confirm, we got officers who had been in Mandera since recruitment for 23 years. And they were raising this with us as concerns. How can you go somewhere and you remain there stuck completely? It is something we want to address, to be addressed substantively. I have cases which I've mentioned with you, IG, of people against even the declaration you are making as the interior CS yesterday or the other day, who have been in stations for over 8 years, and we are still being told they have been there. And I'm happy the IG is smiling about it. So let us deal with this issue in better detail, Chair, because we could not and we cannot satisfactorily deal with it. There's a very big concern that we have people sleeping in darkness for all that time. They can't be transferred, they can't be promoted, and yet the National Police Service Order speaks differently to those matters. I thank you, Chair.
Chair, thank you.
Please, 1 minute each.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah,
I'm last but an equal member of this committee.
You had spoken on your behalf.
Chair, nobody speaks on my behalf because I
Point of
represent
order,
a
Chair.
constituency, please.
Point of order, please. Okay.
Chair, I thank you for this opportunity. Chair, I'm not trained in international diplomacy, but common sense tells me that this is a sure case of putting the cart before the horse. First, the authorities of Kenya makes public the intention of deploying 1,000 police officers to Haiti. Then, in the words of the CS, a commitment is made. And then, the authority or approval of Parliament is sought. What if, and I hope Parliament will not approve, what if Parliament then does not approve? Isn't it putting the country in a bad state? The CS has already quoted extensively on the powers that the Constitution gives the Haiti intention. And I believe what he has said. But I also look at the Police Act. The Police Act that actually gives life or breathes life to the Constitution, what the Constitution says. And if you look at 108(1), it clearly states that the president may, on the application of a government of a reciprocating country, order such number of police officers as the president may think fit to proceed to that country for service therein of the purpose of assisting the police service of that country in a temporary emergency. We know, like my sister has already outlined, the situation of Haiti over so many years. So what is happening in Haiti now is not a temporary emergency. What will you do with that part of the law? I want to say that recently, and I think it was yesterday, you did make the declaration that no police officer who has served for 3 years or more than 3 years, or any police officer who has served in one police station for more than 3 years must be moved. When I CS, I was a bit disappointed because I thought you'd go a bit further to say that must be moved, but in a totally different place. Because you know the situation we've had in Kisumu County, where we have police officers who've served for close to 10 years within the same county, sometimes within the same place.
Will kindly, I think the issue of officers transfer and overstayed have been already
Yes,
raised by
listen, mine is a different
Kaunya.
point. We are talking about police officers, but it's a different point.
It's okay,
So
but
I
you
would
say a
request,
question that has been already raised by the
but it's
member.
on a different point. It's not the same question.
It's the same
Chair.
thing, Mheshimiwa.
So I'm requesting Could those police officers, even if they're being moved to different stations, can it be stations away from the locality where they've been serving? I think then that declaration will be more impactful. In terms of Sondu, Bwana CS, I've shared with you some live videos of political leaders actually talking and inciting their people. Bwana CS, it's just not important to transfer police officers, because a lot of that instigation comes from us political leaders. Kindly let us know, what steps are you taking to deal with us? Because we are the ones who are inciting most of those border clashes. I thank you.
Kaunya, 1 minute, at least 1 minute. And kindly, a question that has been already asked by a colleague, let's not repeat it.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just two short questions. One, Waziri, I want to appreciate your comment on Sondu, that actually these are criminals. But I would wish to know what action has been taken to law enforcers who did not act to protect life. Waziri's part of that question is related to some incidences when they are repeated several times and we don't take action on those who are supposed to take action. Again, we'll have a problem. The second question, Chair, I think on the issue of Haiti, the House will deal with it when it comes. But I would wish to talk about the police transfers, promotions, very, very briefly. My opinion, and I think Waziri, you've rightly commented, and I watched your response to the Senate, that police officers by procedure should serve in a station for 3 years. And the promotions are also well stated in the procedures. But I wanted to ask a question, Waziri. Do you consider this to be a reform issue? Because you indicated some of this will be dealt with the reform. If so, I want to disagree, Waziri, that the issue of police transfers, the issue of police promotions are more of an administrative action. And I know that because most of the issues relating, the procedures are laid out. And I think because the procedures are laid out, the officers who are supposed to implement should implement what is there. So the question of not implementing then should be action on the officers who do not want to carry out the transfers of officers of our state and the promotions of those who are due based on the requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My first question was about the approval, whether the deployment to Haiti was approved by the Security Council. But from your presentation, Mr. CS, it means the Security Council will wait for reports from those who are sent to assess the situation in Haiti. So we got that answer. There's this issue of Sodu and maybe Lamu. And I want to appreciate the CS, the security CS, for what you've been doing to address issues of conflict in our country. I want to really thank you for taking your steps to restore order and peace in Sondo and maybe Lamu. Chair, it is still our request and it's our prayer, Chair, that as a committee that relates to the mandate of the CS, we also need to visit the affected places, the Lamu and and so on to do.
We don't need the approval of the CS.
No, I'm telling you, I'm addressing this to you. I'm not requesting approval from this CS, but letting him know that we are deciding that we also move there as a committee to find out what is happening. I'm saying this, Mr. Chair, because the CS was saying it is not yet time for politicians actually to have any kind of investigation down there before they finish what they are doing. Remember, he mentioned about a commission that should investigate about the boundary issues. So that is the reason why I'm actually saying that before him. Chair, there is the issue of police officers in those local stations at the community level. I don't know whether you have reports that there are some police officers who are actually doing some businesses while on duty. And there are those businesses that it is not allowed by the laws. So I don't know whether IG you have reports of what is happening on the at the community level. This is infringing what we are supposed to do, especially when it comes to the issues of illicit brews. So I don't know whether you have information of what they do, because they are expected to also restore peace and what pertains coexistence at the community level. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. May I first take this opportunity to appreciate what the CS has done to bring this country into normalcy, because what we are seeing is that unlike the time when when he assumed office, we can see a lot of difference in the country, security sector, because most of the places that used to experience insecurity is now secure, and we can comfortably go anywhere in this country without fear. I'm sure I belong to one of the best committee in this country, because our CS is now rated as the best performing CS. I have 3 short questions. Number 1, about the Haiti issue. Our CS, Kenyans are a bit worried about the safe return of our sons and daughters, because we have seen so many countries have, given out travel advisory, advising their people not to go to Haiti. So what assurance are you giving us that we are going to have safe return of our sons and daughters? Number 2, about the issue of disappearance. We have been experiencing these issues, and people have been coming back after 5-6 months while they are disabled. We have seen cases where a chief was taken off by non-security officials and back after 6 months while he's disabled. In my own constituency, right now, I personally, gave out a camel so that he can come back to normal. And he cannot even report to duty. And that's a chief, a government official. And if possible, I'm requesting for the government to compensate that chief. Number 3 is the issue of boundaries. We have this problem all over. I personally have problems like this. County, constituency, administrative boundaries, and maps are there all over. I'm sure most of these boundaries were following, community boundaries that were there during the colonial times. And that's how we are settled all over. If possible, the maps are there in Survey of Kenya. We need this issue to be solved once and for all, because it is really causing a lot of problems. It is really affecting the leadership, even to, focus on development. Thank you, Mr. CS.
Yeah, we can actually.
Chairman, I'll be very brief. First of all, I want to commend the minister for the wonderful job he's doing. You are doing very well, and I'm happy myself as a person. Secondly, I want to talk about the issue of Haiti. One, I think you are very clear today. I think what is lacking in this country, Wasiri, is lack of preparing the nation. We must prepare the nation. We must talk to the nation, give them as much information as possible so that they can be able to understand and be with us. because people are very worried in out there. But today, I think you are very clear in what you are saying, and I'm very happy. Secondly, Wasiri, you know I was the High Commissioner in Nigeria sometimes back, and I want to give this as a testimony that I was covering part of Nigeria, of Liberia, and Sierra Leone, and I visited those two countries to talk to our officers who were there. Wasiri, let us do these things right, and the country will go far in terms of the international relations. People in Nigeria, in Nigeria, in Algeria, in Sierra Leone are very happy with Kenyans who have served in those nations. And I'm very sure if we do this thing properly, we are going to take our country forward. The only thing which I want to tell you, Wasiri, is that let us prepare our people here so that they can be able to be with you. Give as much information as possible. On the issue of Sondu Kericho, Waziri, that business of insecurity should not be there. The Kipsigis and the lower people have lived for a very long time. The problem I'm asking myself is, we have a security committee in that place. What did they know? Because when I was there, we used to get information on the almost happenings in the area. Was in there some information, there's a report on the information of what was going to happen. Now, on these officers who are going to be transferred, I thought they were going to be, first of all, to be asked why they failed to do what they were going to do, so that they can be punished if they made a mistake. That's what I believe myself. They must be taken, they must take account of what they are doing. So, last, Waziri, I want us to address the issue of transfers in the local community. Mheshimiwa Jaluli has mentioned the issue of the security in the local centers. Waziri, the insecurity and the illegal brews we have in our areas, the bank business is done by officers who have stayed for a long time. Can we take audit? Can we take audit of officers in the entire country so that we know? But in my place, I have people who have stayed in a village for 10 years, and they are the leading businessmen in illegal brews. And chair, so I want us to look at the entire country, even apart from those areas. We look at the areas where we come from, do audit and know who has stayed for a long time, and they should be taken away to another place. Thank you, Chair.
So back to you, Buenos Aires.
Thank you, Chair and members.
The issue of this mission to Haiti, and maybe the starting point will be where the Honorable Esigay has left. That much of the sentiments that are coming out is because the people of Kenya would like an explanation and information on the deployment. I want to promise on behalf of government that on a matter as monumental as this one, the government will be transparent and will provide as much information to the people of Kenya as possible so that we carry the country alongside. It is not just a decision you make and just enforce it. So I agree fully. Now, the Honorable Kaluma asked about the relations between Haiti and the US and made the comments he made and asked why the US was the sponsor of the resolution that was adopted. But from where we sit, we don't control the UN procedures. And for us, what mattered, because it was a condition, when the request was made, we put a condition that we cannot allow deployment as Kenya unless it has legal backing of the United Nations Security Council. So we could not control who brings the resolution, but we were careful to get approval. Members and the country may want to know that out of the 15 members of the National UN Security Council, none of them opposed. There were only two members that abstained, Russia and China. And even the abstentions were not opposed to the deployment or the leadership of Kenya in the mission. They just required, their delegations were requiring more details, which have since been provided. And members may want to know that as we speak, even the two members of the UN Security Council that abstained from taking the vote are supporting the mission in terms of resources and so forth. The other question was on which countries. The process is ongoing. As I said, it's still at the preliminary stage, but the countries that have offered to provide troops include Burundi, Senegal, Mauritius, Chad, Paraguay, Cuba, and Grenada as we speak. But the diplomatic engagements are ongoing. But from that corner, and Chile, sorry, I forgot, Chile from CARICOM countries. In fact, the entire membership of the regional intergovernmental organization to which Haiti belongs is called CARICOM. The entire membership of CARICOM countries is in support of this mission, the neighbors of Haiti. But in terms of countries which have offered to give troops, Chile, Paraguay, Cuba, and Grenada have offered to provide troops, to give it a regional support. But the entire those are sentiments. This is a deployment, and therefore troops as used in this. And I suspect why the Honorable Karuma is asking that question is because of the answer I'm about to give on the other question he asked. Let me say that they will give that number of officers. Chile, Paraguay, Grenada, Cuba have already offered to provide officers for deployment. The other question was on the use of the word forces in Article 240, paragraph 8, which I think is semantic, because we deliberately avoided using the word force just for sentimental reasons as a country, because of the experience Kenyans had, and they decided the Kenya Police Force would be called Kenya Police Service, and the reasons were given. For all intents and purposes, the organs of national security, once if I look at the organs, the deployment of organs of national security, be they KDF, NPS, or NIS, because even for the NIS, which is the most reclusive of the organs of national security, it may be necessary for national security strategic interests to do external deployment because of external and internal intelligence needs of the country. So our interpretation is that the word forces there is not limited to the Kenya Defense Forces. If that was the intention, the drafters of Article 240 would have said so. Number two, if it was not the intention, the definitional provisions of either that article or Article 260, which provides for the definitions of ambiguous terms, would have provided for the meaning of the word forces. But that is tautology. It's neither here nor there. The other question was about a court, whether there is a court order. Yes, there is a court order. The court order, in our view, does not address itself to the issue of deployment. Neither has it, or rather, the only issue that it addresses itself to is the issue of deployment. that before deployment is done, the matter in court should be heard and determined. That's it. It has not said nobody should talk about it. It has not said we should not prepare for it. It has not said we should not train. It has not said we should not request Parliament to consider and approve. It has just said before the deployment, the matter will have taken shape or something like that.
I asked that question because of the sub judice rule. And so the question was, what is the case in court about? So that in a
Said before deployment, the matter in court should have been canvassed. That's it. Then there was the question of, again, Sondu. Up to now, 10 suspects have been arrested and are being processed for prosecution. On the question of temporary emergency, reference was made on temporary emergency. I think, again, those are terms that can be interpreted either way, because the current situation of Haiti is a situation in its current shape, which began in 2021 when the president was assassinated and the prime minister who had just been appointed had not even started discharging his functions. So right now, it's a temporary emergency because at the moment as we speak, even the mandates of the legislature and the government has actually lapsed. So technically, it's a country in limbo. So it's a temporary emergency, as opposed to a situation where it is the same Haiti with the gangs, with all the violence, but there is a government which is in place. The other thing is on political leaders, again on Sondu. Before I go to Sondu, there was the issue of what should have come first. Is it the commitment to deploy, or is it first the legal procedures locally? And the answer is what has happened is the right procedure. The request must first come from the international legal system to our legal system. And therefore, the commitment by the executive to deploy is within the law, in the sense that technically that commitment, of course, is made subject to the meeting of the constitutional procedures. So I see no harm. And that's why we have institutions of governance. So likewise, the National Security Council will transmit the request to Parliament, and the executive have no control on what Parliament decides. If Parliament decides on the contrary, that is an outcome of democratic processes. I see no embarrassment, no diplomatic issue there. It is part of our democracy, and we must learn to respect the democracy of our legal order which we have adopted for ourselves. The other issue is on what action has been taken on law enforcement officers who may not have acted. That is something maybe the IG and the Commission can help us with. But as a general policy issue, it is not going to be tenable anymore to transfer an officer who has failed to act within the law to discharge their mandate. Because transferring an officer from one place, one station to another is transferring a problem. We must find ways as a country of taking more grievous action on such people. But let me put this in context as I perhaps wind up, that majority of the police officers in this country do a great job. I have been in the field almost in all the regions of our country. But we do have officers within our ranks who have swelled the reputation of their colleagues. And those are the ones we must address. I am a very proud security minister when I see some of the sacrifices young and talented police officers are making in the fight against terror in northern Kenya, in Lamu, in North Rift. Some of them have paid the ultimate price by losing their lives, losing their limbs in the defense of our country. We need to applaud our police officers and stand with them and their families. And it is wrong for us as a country to condemn our men and women in uniform wholesomely, because I have been there, I've seen what they go through. This weekend, we have lost an officer just here in Nairobi, and that answers the question about the risks in Haiti. Our officers, the nature of security worldwide, in any country in the world, there is an element of risk. We lose, and not just in Kenya, many countries around the world, even the safest, we end up having, perhaps the difference is in the numbers, but we all have these incidents where by bad luck, because of the nature of the work, you'll have a police officer injured or sometimes succumb to the fire of the enemy. Therefore, the DCI, for example, we had some officers doing an operation in Kasarani just this weekend, and dangerous robber who had caused a lot of mayhem around Kisii, Migori, ran away, was cornered somewhere in their own house, opened fire at officers using their family members, their wife, his wife and children. And because of the delicate nature, the thug ended up shooting 3 officers, 2 in the abdomen, 1 in the leg. But we were fortunate he was fell down in that operation. Now the 3 officers, 1 of them has succumbed yesterday. 2 others are fighting for their life. So I have so many incidents of police officers who have done, there is no greater sacrifice. And there are many. Every year we celebrate, we commemorate the fallen heroes who have died in the line of duty. I have restrained myself and the IG have restrained ourselves from shedding tears when you see young families of our officers who have lost their lives defending our country. So the few crooked officers who are tarnishing the reputation of the National Police Service, we must uproot them from the service. And there are no 2 ways about it. Reforms, we hope will help us get there, but I admit we have a few who are getting into cahoots with criminals. And those ones, we must be very ruthless with them. And I want to leave that matter there, including those who go to open bars in areas where they have been posted, and butcheries and marrying local wives. How do you arrest your father-in-law if you have already married from the village there and you are a law enforcement officer? So I think IG could say something and then we end it there. But we are doing our best. I know the challenges are many. A question has been asked even about Lamu, what is happening in Lamu. And Northeastern is a matter that is giving us sleepless nights, and we must get that matter under control. We'll be circulating a number of terror suspects anytime from now. We will be asking for rewards. Those people can help us apprehend those suspects. And we'll be asking those suspects to surrender to the nearest police station. And if they don't surrender, so that we process them for prosecution, we shall go and look for them.
Chair, a point of just clarity, short point. Waziri, I asked whether form or administrative issue. I asked that, Chair, deliberately because for the last 25 years, we have had the police reforms going on. We have had several commissions, and I'm sure CS you've come across. But one thing that has not been addressed is action, is the administrative action to ensure that what these commissions and the procedures that are in place, including the standing operating procedures and the laws, are put in place. So even the task force currently, it's on that background I was asking that question. I would have wished you commented. Chair.
Maybe I can ask that. I think is the man of that space.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll be very brief. Maybe as I answer the issue raised by Honorable Karuma, Kawunya, maybe on behalf of by CS, as I answered the question by Honorable Sigei, is to appreciate Honorable Sigei for the compliments for my CS having been rated the best, and associate myself with that good performance. Now, Honorable Chair, Honorable Kawunya.
Chair, Honorable Sigei was so out of order. I don't know why you didn't reprimand him. But we cannot compliment our CS before the nation. We oversight him.
It's not shared compliments.
Well, Honorable Chair, thank you.
Chair, whether we are commended or not, we'll continue with what we can do. Thank you. We take it with all humility.
We are just saying take it with all humility, but it's your performance, an individual performance, not shared with
Honorable Chair, the matter raised by Honorable Kawunya is contentious because when we discuss security issues, it's indeed very sensitive. We need to be very careful. We don't compromise the operations of the National Police Service, because as we sit here, there are officers right at our border with Somalia, performing a very important, very delicate function. Because there are those officers who are there discharging maybe a specialized function. Therefore, could be a reform issue, administrative, but a bit tricky. It is a matter, I'm careful, or now I respond, Chair. Allow me to stop at that.
Yeah, Chair, allow him to stop at that. I think let us deal with that issue in a future date in that other matter.
I agree, Chair. It may be in the camera. Honorable Cherule, she talked about misconduct of officers. Honorable members, I would like to start by assuring you, as I answer that question, that we have decided as the command of the National Police Service, with the DIGs, the DCI, we must lead by example. We do nothing else other than policing. And those are the clear instructions we have issued to officers. Anybody involved in other business, illegal activities, there's no compromise. Therefore, I take maybe advantage of this opportunity to request members of the public, call us. Any officer involved in any malpractice, involved in illegal business, we shall take firm and decisive action. I think that's all. I think all other issues were addressed by the CS. Thank you, Chair.
While you are still at that, but IG, and I want you to be just straight to the point. As it is currently, as per the regulation in the National Police Service, do you need to have to enforce the Maraga reform to transfer officers who overstayed in a particular station You don't. It's a straight no. Because yes, there's no justification whatsoever unless somebody serving somebody somewhere's interest. You have our officer, a police officer, staying more than 7, 6, 10 years in a given station, especially in a leadership. They will get familiarities. They will start engaging in some business. That is now the people who will engage in banking and all that. And I think you have said it repeatedly, time and again. And we really don't see point and reason why we keep speaking and talking. We still have enough officers who are overstayed in a given station across the country. And I think what we like from the mood of the members, the issue of transfers and the policies regards to transfers, I think is a matter that we are not very satisfied with. Is a matter that we are not convinced. And I think we'll look another time specifically to address the issue of transfers and promotion. As a committee, we are not very much convinced. Meanwhile, submit the detailed report on promotion to the committee so that on behalf of Kenyans, we can able to see how balanced it was in terms of region, gender, and the rest. Otherwise,
when his questions were being answered.
Kaluma, order.
What is it?
Order. You're a high-ranking member.
No, he's telling me about his cars.
Even the chair's not finished. The chair is still on the chair and speaking. So on this one, when I think we don't even need to have the CS covering you on that. The issue of promotion is specifically and purely your mandate and role. We will look another time on that because Kenyans are not really convinced. Even in my own county, I know officers who have stayed more than 12 years. And others even say they're untouchable. I don't know whether they're being protected for whichever reason. You get officers who are in hardship. And I know because I'm the chair when I was ill, some members even have reached me trying to ask me to help them. Including even Kaluma here, a brother or a next of kin who have stayed more than 8 years, just on the pretext that is a specialized unit, they have to stay and suffer in hardship area, in particular station, for 6 or so years. I think there's no justification whatsoever. And we can do what I do better than this. So, members, Kaluma, what is it, please? Because we need to...
Yes, Chair. Kaluma's briefed me that my question was answered to his satisfaction.
And we have just 2 seconds.
Yes, Chair, give me 1 minute. Chair, I just want to thank the CS and Chair. I also want to inform you that I have informed the Speaker to extend the time for you because I told him the CS was engaged for long at the Senate. And the Speaker is aware that you are still here with the Waziri, whose time is also precious with the IG. Chair, looking at me, Chair was not born black like this. But this has been caused by the situation and the circumstances I told you I went through. Chair, I had a very good, promising future when I graduated from the prestigious Faculty of Law of the University of Nairobi. And at that time, like every Luo,
we've given you 2 seconds.
I opted, Chair, just give me.
Please.
I back in 10 seconds. You remember the IG was my classmate at the university, and I deserve some time. Chair, when I left that time then, Chair, my first car then was a Mercedes-Benz. That was my first car in life. And Chair, I decided not to marry until I got a colored TV and a house in a good neighborhood, because that was the only ticket in which you would get a good wife if you are a Luo. Chair, as it stands now, you recall when I started working, I was driving a 280 Mercedes, but now I've degenerated to a small Toyota.
Okay, Aruma, please.
And that is because of the No, it is, Chair. It is. It is because of the situation.
You had come when we almost, the chair was actually joining the meeting.
Chair, at this point, having started with that, when I'm visiting a friend like you or the CS, I'm just supposed to be asking for a pin to be dropped for me to end there in a chopper, not driving a Toyota. So I hope if my situation is improved, I'll be able to improve that and get back to where I'm supposed to be. Thank you, Chair, for the indulgence.
So, what I was saying as we close, is that, kindly, I think, Aduma, you had seen very voluminous papers, yes. I think I consider it might be important for you to have one-on-one and probably even go through this material. They may be helpful in looking into the matters addressing the Sondu border issue. So kindly, Aduma, you need to have these documents given to the CS. Yeah. Lastly, you don't need to order, Kaluma, order. You don't need, it's no response on this. We just noted that some of your submission were oral. You can kindly do some written submission on the same. I just want also to inform you that there's a letter written to your office in regards to these committee visits to Turkana, Samburu, Isiolo. Maybe have it transmitted, which has been rescheduled. But on the same note, I want also to report with a lot of joy that you know this committee is out to help you and the ministry to attain peace in the country. Out of this committee and the support from the ministry, the visit in Samburu, Laikipia, they were torn areas, prone areas, been relative peace. You must have been briefed. This committee, we embodied the local leadership from all the speaking, including the governor and local members of parliament. They're actually presently on the ground, trying to initiate cultural-related manner of reconciliation, which goes a long way to help you in achieving the much desired peace. So you relate to the same to the officers. They have been so much helpful any other time we visit. So I think the vice had also had an issue to do with the sub-counties. You have been launching the sub-counties of late, a lot of them. And I don't know what had happened about some prioritization. Maybe I don't know whether you're specific to a particular sub-county. Just
Thank you very much, Chair. Here's a quick one. I believe you have been commissioning sub-counties, quite a few of them, most which were gazetted in 2017, 2021, 22. I believe for this committee, what is outstanding is sub-counties and also locations and sub-locations. There are a lot of questions that both the constituents and our colleagues are asking. Could you fast track and also try to share with us some of what could be on your desk so that we can tell our colleagues and even our members here to prepare accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
So maybe you can respond to that one as you close. So I want to say on behalf of this committee and Kenyans, it was a good moment to really tell Kenya what is happening, more so regarding to some security issues like Sondu and Lamu and the rest. And of course, the very hot issue on Haiti. And it's a monumental matter, as you put it. So we want to appreciate. We're more enlightened. Let's keep talking. Let's keep updating ourselves on how we are moving forward until maybe the moment that you'll be able to be transmitted to the both houses. On the issue of security and your continuous effort, try to make Kenya safe. This committee, as always, we are always there to support you, especially in terms of resource allocation and doing legislative proposal, wherever we are needed and called for, because that is what we have been elected for. So thank you so much. Maybe you can have 1 or 2 minutes to do your remarks and respond to the vice concern.
Thank you, Chair. In response to the
by the Vice Chair and Member for SACCO, There are sub-counties and other lower level administrative units that were gazetted, mainly in 2017 and some 2022, which have not been operational for reasons of budget, um, uh, among other things. It's a budget constraints. We have made a decision that no sub-county or other administrative units that have been gazetted will be lost, and we will go out of our way to look for resources to operationalize all of them. I want to commit that all the sub-counties that were gazetted and not operationalized, and by the time I took over office in this ministry, there were 28. We have reduced that number now to about 21, but we are going to make sure that all those sub-counties will be operationalized this financial year. Initially, we wanted to do it on a 3-year phased program, but we decided first to finish with the sub-counties because they are quite critical for service delivery. But over the 3-year period, we want to make sure that even the lower level units, we will also bring them, we'll also have them operationalized, giving foremost priority to areas that are prone with insecurity, because these units have a direct contribution to the security of the areas where they've been created. So in terms of the outstanding sub-counties, we shall operationalize all of them this financial year, and we have the money to do so. Two final remarks, Chair, is to thank you on my behalf, on behalf of the Inspector General Police and the senior officers from the Ministry of Interior. We thank you for being patient with us and engaging with us. The second and last remark is to thank you, Chair, and the committee for supporting our ministry and the organs and institutions in our ministry with budget support and making a case for us. And we do take the critique that you give us as positive support so that we can improve on the services that we offer to the people of Kenya as we work together towards a secure nation. Finally, is a plea that, and I'm not saying it's happening, but you are part of our ambassadors in this sector, just to encourage the nation and our people that we tried and minimize politicizing security matters. And that doesn't mean we should not be criticized, but we should minimize politicization of security. We try our best to do what is good for our country and not get engaged in sectarian and political divisions. Thank you.
So thank you so much for appearing, and remember